What's up, everyone? Welcome to Normal America Show. How's it going? I think I have the same shirt on today that I did yesterday. But I have a reason. I had a different shirt on. I was at a ball game and it started raining. So I threw this guy on. So I apologize for that. We got a show for you tonight. Get all tangled up. Tangled up. First off, thanks, Fighting Irish. I'm very impressed that my microphone was on when I started the stream. That I'm like 1 for 4 this week. So good work. That's always a good sign. It's going to be a good show. My microphone was set up correctly. Hooray! Let me see. I'm looking for a particular video here. I'm not going to be able to. That's right, professional streamer. So I hope you're all having a better day. I'm having somewhat of a better day than yesterday, though somewhat not. I did ask for prayers for a dear friend of mine yesterday. I was able to meet up with that friend today, and it's sad seeing someone's health slipping, and sometimes with certain things, it's sort of bleak that there'll be a change in outcomes. And it's one of those situations where you pray for a miracle, but it's bleak. So but it was still, you try to have as many good times as you can. So I did have a good time today having lunch. I almost got a ticket today. I could be wrong. I think this is true. I've never received a traffic violation. I've received some parking tickets, but never a traffic violation. I almost got I guess it would have been a parking ticket today. My man who I worked with, one of the gentlemen that I with disabilities that I worked with, he's the one who's having some poor health. And so I called him, was like, "Hey man, let's grab lunch." So he requested I pick him up some stuff from a sub shop. And they're like working on the road in front of this sub shop, but like a quarter mile down the road. So I pull in like I normally would, and there's a parking meter there, and I put a quarter in, and I look, and the parking meter 2 ahead both have bags over them, and then 3 ahead has a sign that says no parking. And so I start to think, I'm like, well, wait a minute. Those ones have a bag over them and a sign that says no parking, but this one doesn't. So I'm probably good, right? Like, surely they're putting bags over all of them that's no parking. And then I look behind me, and the parking meter right behind me had a bag on it. So I was like, oh, it looks like the bag came off here. So I decided, okay, I'll get in my car and I'll go park on a back street. And as I got in my car, I looked, there was a cop sitting in the parking lot across the way, and he's like laughing, waved to me. He must have been about to get me. I was like, oh, shoot. So I narrowly escaped. I made it. That's right. I could be sitting here a criminal right now. But now I escaped that tyranny. So, and I went and saw my niece play softball today. I think she's 10. And I only got to see her bat once because after the 3rd inning when she got to bat, my son and his little cousin decided they wanted to go to the playground, and I got elected to be the adult supervisor. It was very fun at the playground. They were playing pirates and sea monsters. It was pretty exhilarating. I was into it. It was quite these kids were like, they're fast, man. They're moving up and down the playground equipment. I was like, dang, yeah. So good stuff. I know I didn't provoke the cop. It was crazy. It's a crazy thought, So anyways, my cousin, or Hank's cousin, she hit a scorching line drive. Very impressed. Then ended up stealing 3rd and came in on a single. So well done. Run scored. It was nice. I gotta admit, I was impressed. For like 10 to 12-year-old girls playing softball, there were like some really solid fundamentals with a lot of the players. Like, getting in position to like field a ball, like knowing exactly what base to throw to. It was for a 10-year-old, it was like oh, it was nice. So, and I gotta say, I gotta give a shout out. One thing about it is those games are long. It's 6 innings. I mean, you're talking hours. And you really got to give a shout out to the umpires and coaches because, it's a lot of times it takes them a long time to be able to hit a pitch. And sometimes the pitchers just are nowhere near the strike zone. And so then the coach will have to come in and throw a pitch and uh, give the girls a chance, to at least swing the bat. And my hat's off to them. That takes, you're probably talking working dudes that have like 9 to 5 jobs, and then they're willing to go out. 5:30, you get out there, and you're getting home at 8:30. You're ending the game at 8:30. So I mean, really, hats off to those people for volunteering and putting in that time to volunteer. I think that's really cool, and you can tell the kids all had a great time with it. So it's fun. I'm sure I'll get to more games. Obviously, we're on vacation next week, so unfortunately, my man's gonna miss one game, uh, which is kind of a bummer. I wish we could make him to the mall, but vacation was pre-planned. So lacrosse, we never had that around here. I would have always enjoyed hockey, but we never. And if where I'm at to play hockey, like the nearest league was like Erie. You're talking like dang near 2 hours. Yeah, I started early today. Why not? I figured. Now it's a weird day because there is news to talk about. Um, I think the Iran deal. So first, let me address a couple housekeeping matters, and then we'll get into the show today. It's going to be a little different. So yesterday's show, I ended up taking down for 2 reasons. I took it down all platforms, not just YouTube. YouTube, I knew I was going to take it down. We were reading a lot of the grooming gang inquiry. There's certain words that aren't banned on YouTube, but that everyone tells you negatively affect the algorithm. And one of those words is a word that is one syllable and starts with R and is the most serious offense of a sexual nature you could commit against someone. And I've probably, in reading accounts of young girls yesterday, said that word 30 times. So that makes it difficult to keep up on a place like YouTube because I don't, you get sort of labeled as like sort of adult type content, which I'm clearly not using it in jest. I'm using it in a newsworthy story. But so that was one reason. The other reason was it's sort of difficult to say. I'm a little embarrassed to say this, but it's true. I did not realize when I was playing a video at the end of last night's show that my microphone was on, and I kind of sounded like a baby. So is maybe not the most composed that I should be on stream, but it was something. Yeah, that's basically it. I started my period. That was basically it. It was not flattering on my end, so I decided to take it down. So it wasn't that I was swearing at anyone or anything like that, but it just was not the type of thing that I was unaware that the audio was running. Because like when I play my video from my channel, it's not. So if I play this, right? If I play. The whole way through, so you couldn't hear me while I was talking through it. And sometimes I forget if I'm just playing a video from like X or YouTube, my microphone will still pick up. So that's it. For those that saw the show, you know what happened. But that's that. So it's difficult. Those stories are difficult to talk about. It sort of causes a depressing for me. It's depressing all day. Like I was already having a not good day yesterday. And seeing those stories, that reading the inquiry, and then that other story, really, again, I'm a soft person. Those stories make me not soft. I will be careful in what I say, but I just don't know how that kind of evil can exist in the world. And I would not know how to compose myself in many of those situations. So, but anyways, that was yesterday's show. We're trying to move on. The one thing I will say about the grooming inquiry, a lot of the usual customers, you're not hearing a lot from any of the mainstream media. There's little tidbits. A lot of the streaming world that was very upset about harm being done to children, you're not hearing much from them. Thanks, Grit. I appreciate it. So it's not going away, at least not on this channel. And it's something that I've talked about for years. And I'm going to keep talking about it. And I hope that movement gets to start to get some sort of justice for the thousands upon thousands that were harmed. Not just them, but their families. Truly awful. Truly one of the most awful stories of all time. You know, so I'll still be focusing on it, but not tonight. Tonight we're going to focus on some other stuff that is a little different for this show. So I will be talking about being sued, and I'm going to show you the legal document originally that I received about the lawsuit against me. I'm also going to be careful, seeing as how it is ongoing litigation, to not say anything that'll jeopardize my end. Instead, I more want to talk about the dangers of lawsuits like this, and not just this, but an increasing litigious nature online and sort of other, what I would consider out of bounds behavior that you see in the online sort of debate sphere or, you know, political sphere. And it's always been there. It's always been simmering there, like since at least 2016. But I feel like it's growing. It's reaching into spaces that maybe and doing slightly different things that you wouldn't expect, or I wouldn't expect. Maybe you would. So that's sort of what the theme of tonight's show is going to be. There is news that I would like to talk about. Maybe we'll have to wait to get to it tomorrow. And of course, the Iran deal, which I feel bad I deleted the video last night because we talked about it at decent length, which I think ultimately looks like a failure to me of Trump. I think ultimately it's not a catastrophic failure that means that he can't accomplish any good, but I think this was a huge mistake. He did not achieve goals, and he's trying to save face. I'll have more to talk about that specifically. But the other thing that occurred today that I think is unbelievable is sort of the gamesmanship that's going on with Bill Pulte and this Jay, I forget his name, right? And then sort of several sites have came out and said there's reporting that John Thune has admitted that the SAVE Act will never get passed because there are Republicans that, even if they would agree with the SAVE Act, hate Trump so much that they refuse to give him a win. And I have a lot to say about this, not the least of which is, told you. That's been the game. I've been saying that since the get-go. Since all this discussion came about ending the filibuster. I was like, why? The Republicans love the filibuster. They fucking hate Trump. They don't want Trump's agenda. They hate Trump and they hate his voters. And they hate their own voters. Not all of them, but enough of them in the Senate. And so granted, it's anonymous reporting, so take it with a grain of salt. But it fits right in with everything that would be expected. You know? So that's what I'm saying. Well, Thune's probably one of them. But yeah, let's get them on record. No problem. That's what I say. But Mike Lee's been out there trying to be like a middleman, like, hey, if we just start debating the issue, force them to do like sort of a talking filibuster, just bring up the issue for debate, I think we'll get to 51 votes. We'll be good. And the rumor is that a bunch of senators got together and like excoriated Mike Lee and were like, shut your mouth. What are you doing? Republicans that I think are on board with the administration, I think there's a decent chunk of them. I really do. Excuse me. It'd be easier to name the ones that I think are staunchly against it. And it's sort of the old guard Republicans. The Mitch McConnell class, the Lindsey Graham class. Like they... And one thing I'll say is, Right. Of course, you would expect them to pass it, even if they hate Trump, if it's something they agree with. The one thing I'll say is, listen, well, two things. This is what happens, Trump. You give them something they wanted and you thought, oh, they'll play ball. They're not going to play ball. These old guard they don't care. They're going to just deflect and lie until the clocks run out on you. That's the game. And then they're going to try to bury you. They'll support the criminal investigations that will be coming against you and your family. They're going to do it. Just saying. So there's no sense trying to be polite to them. Play hardball. And Trump tried to do that today where he was like, listen, then I'm pulling this Jay guy's confirmation back and we're going to leave Bill Pulte there. And I'm going to attach the SAVE Act to FISA. If you want FISA, you got to get the SAVE Act. And Tom Cotton and company were like, well, this is very disappointing. No, you know what's disappointing? 90% of your base wants voter ID and you guys won't even bring it up. That's disappointing. To the credit, it sounds like Murkowski is going to be a yes on the SAVE Act, or at least would have been. Now that could change. The other thing is, the entire concept of voting Democrat, like the Nick Fuentes plan, another aspect, and I've alluded to this in the past, but another aspect is this is actually giving the worst Republicans exactly what they want. Because if we vote for Republicans and they refuse to do anything, then it makes it more likely that whether you be Nick Fuentes and company or others, that you have 2 years to start pushing people for primaries that are these people that are outed as being a thorn in the side of the administration. If not, if Democrats win, then what happens is you get the same old characters that will run in 2028. And they'll be like, see, it wasn't us, it was Democrats. See how bad they are? The real way to win is to change the Republican Party from within. And you're not going to give that if you allow these politicians to run on, we would have done good, but Democrats won. Now, a lot of this has to do with Trump putting the pressure on these people as well. But that's all I have to say about that. For now, at least. Maybe we'll get back to that. So, let me read some super chats. Blasterbot, $5 says, pass the Carnestein Transparency Act, Rob. The people demand answers. Hashtag Dinogate. Hashtag release the Carnestein files. Hashtag show me. No show. Naughty Jerv, $5. Thank you so much, my friend. Truth Revolt TV says for Rob's Bond. And Puggo Reborn Channel, $10 says, as a father, it was hard to listen to these stories. However, I respect all of you for genuine emotion. Completely understandable, not one step back. Thank you. I appreciate it, but still, I should probably try to compose myself a little better on stream. And then 559 Texan says, these never Trump Republicans are unbelievable, man. They're not as bad as Democrats, but damn it, man. Yeah. So, the general theme of tonight is just like the online debate space, sort of politics space, and what I consider outside the bounds things that have been going on. Now, it's very weird because I'm new to this. I'm not new to the online debate sphere, but I've largely stayed out of drama. I've dipped my toe in. That's certainly true. And I would never say, oh, I've never engaged in drama. In fact, I even have this. Where's it at? I even made a picture for the case. Okay. Oh, drama. Ooh, we didn't do a drama song yet though. But yeah, I went over it last night, Obi Trinity. So drama, it's certainly I've been tangentially involved in some stuff, but not as much as others. For example, I haven't really talked about anyone's relationships. I brought it up once in response to RTP basically saying that I couldn't be married because of, I don't know, how I look or how I act. And I asked if he was married. He said no, he was separated. And I just kind of was like, And he was like, yeah, but basically implied he had a lot of sex. And I was like, aren't you a father? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, I don't respect that. That's not something to brag about once you're a parent. I mean, it's not something to brag about, anyways, in my opinion, but whatever. But I take that seriously, and I know people like that in real life. You know, you'll know a woman that, separates from the guy she had kids with, and then she's out with a different guy, like, every month, and you're like, is that healthy? Are you bringing these guys back into the home? Do you know the statistics? And the same's true of if you're a guy, bringing in strange women into your home. It's just not healthy. It's just not. That's not me attacking your kids or your family. That's you brought up my marriage situation, and I countered, and I didn't think you're big man. But that's about it. The other thing I could think of is, I did sort of comment on Conor's video talking about going through a divorce. Now, I said all through the video, and I truly mean this, I feel terrible anytime someone's going through a divorce. I do. I wish that they could reconcile and find whatever it is they once had, especially if you have kids. I think that that's the best thing to try to do. But divorce sucks for anyone, regardless if it's a person I like or not. I'm sure it sucks. I feel bad. I was just commenting on Conor's video talking about it, where he's going into all these details. Am I going to enter a slutty phase? Oh, no. No. So, but maybe, okay, that's me engaged in drama to some degree. Okay, fine. And I'm sure there's been other times that I've weighed in on this dramatic situation or another. But it's not like what a lot of other debaters are doing. And I want to precursor this by saying drama makes sense in a lot of different interactions. If you are someone who is advocating for what you want to be a cultural norms in relationships, then it probably makes sense that at some point you're going to be insulting someone else's relationship or insulting someone else's take on your own relationship. For example, if you're pro LGBT and you're calling Christians bigots because they're anti-gay marriage, probably it's to be expected there's going to be some uncomfortable debates where people are like, your particular situation sucks. You're in a gay marriage, that sucks. If you're a red pill guy, right? And you're talking about like being a Chad, and then all of a sudden you go through a bad breakup and DMs of yours get released where you're like crying. People are probably going to come at you for that because what you've been arguing performatively goes in with the criticism. So if you're someone like Andrew Wilson and you're criticizing people's relationships as like, this is an unhealthy way to have a relationship. For example, open relationships are unhealthy. Do I expect people then to come back to Andrew and say, well, we're going to look at your relationship? Yeah, I do. I do. Now, it obviously could go over the line, but you understand it. You're like, I get it. There's sort of a general rule of thumb, which is you don't really go after people's families unless that gate's sort of opened. Once that's opened, or, like, is there a reason to talk trash on my brother? Probably not. But if my brother's a streamer and he's going on panels with me and he's talking trash to other people, okay, that makes sense. Or my wife, or, if I was old enough, my kid, or if he was old enough, you get the point. I haven't really done much of that, even with high-profile people. I debated Destiny several times. Show me once ever talking about his open marriage or his divorce. There is video of him performing sexual acts, including on men, online. I didn't really comment, other than to say it's a shame that got released. I've commented on alleged court issues with him, but I've been careful to be like, look, I don't talk to him about that because it hasn't been proven. I'm not really interested in digging into it. I think his political takes are dog shit. That's enough for me. And that's basically been the world I've been in. In all of the drama that I've been involved with, it's almost always germane to the political realm. You're a shitty debater. You set this up. You changed this topic. You're bad faith. None of that, as far as I'm concerned, is like there was the time where Destiny's editor clipped me for a minute out of context, and then it made it to the front page of Reddit. Even that, it's like, it's no big deal. It's not like they clipped me saying I was committed some crime or something. It was like they clipped me implying that I was agreeing with Destiny, but actually it was him agreeing with me. And shit like that. None of that. All of it has been just the type of person I am where it's like easy come, easy go. From the time I was 19 years old in college doing policy debate, it's sort of the left of the left in policy debate. And I made friends there. And we had huge political and cultural disagreements, but it was all right. You just did it and you were like, no problem. And that was that, So for me, it was like, if someone's like, you're a dog shit debater, you do this, you do that. I could separate that and be like, it doesn't make me dislike them as a person. I think they're a dog shit debater. How about this? Or they're full of shit about this claim. Stuff like that. That's nothing. Think of it this way. We're all playing, Call of Duty, and someone's doing shitty in the game, something shitty in the game. They keep taking my spawn point or something. It's annoying, but it's like, it's a game at the end of the day. It's sort of how I feel about it. Andrew, on the other hand, you have people attacking his children in tragic situations. That's beyond the realm of, that's over the line. Now, Andrew's wife happens to be a streamer and talks on a lot of these issues and debates them. She's fair game. That's just the way it is. You shouldn't be expected. If I debate Rachel and we're really going out, I'm gonna be like, I treat her just like anyone else. I'm not gonna be like, oh, you're someone's wife. But the going after children and tragedies and shit like that's a bit much. It's a bit much. So, that's always where I've been. And there's been some, seminal moments, I think, in the past 2 years of streaming, where it's, really, forced me to confront some uncomfortable truths about how not everyone's playing the same playing field that I thought. Now, a lot of it's bullshit blacklist and this and that and the other. And whatever, that's still in the realm of gamesmanship, I guess. That's not what I'm talking about. The first thing that I really noticed was how many people that it shocked me were calling for violence or making allusions for calls for violence. And this was particularly after the Butler assassination attempt at Trump. I was shocked. And anyone who followed me back then, I think you could tell that I was a little visibly shook. Not scared, that wasn't it. But it'd be like if you pick up a newspaper and you read that your neighbor 2 doors down the street that used to say hi every day while you're out grabbing your mail, you find out that he's some, mobster or something. And you're like, really? It's just, that's crazy. I could not believe how hard it was to get people on the left to just be like, yeah, of course, political violence off the table. And then I started to see it all around. And I think I'm going to be going on Sitch and Adam's show here soon to talk about this. But you remember, I was going out of my way trying to talk to anyone on the left. Dude, I'm not even arguing politics. Can we all just as a community come together and be like, look, we all think we're right, and we all talk about what we think are very dark things that are going on in our society, but that doesn't justify you going out and taking physical violence against politicians, law enforcement, etc. Can we agree with that? We just had, who is now the president and the former president, an assassination attempt. And, I've told you before, things that were being said in Destiny's Reddit community, and now we see even his mod, geez, real school shooter vibes here. Even people that I thought were more reasonable, like Loner Box. He put out a post that was at what point should we have taken out Hitler? Right after the assassination attempt of Trump. And it's grim. It's really grim. Now, the other day, Ryan Mullally debates this guy, Dev. I don't know much about this guy. Apparently, he sort of got popular during Gamergate. And he was on like the non-woke side of Gamergate. So I guess the right side of Gamergate in more ways than one. And now, like, if people tell me, like, look, up to a couple years ago, he was like a reasonable guy. Now the guy finds himself in the position where he's openly calling for assassination attempts against U.S. politicians. How did that happen? In 2 years. 2 years. And what I'm going to take people at their word that he was reasonable 2 years ago. I don't know. Maybe he wasn't. But there are people like that. I know those people. I know people in my life that even 2-3 years ago, they were lefty crazy, and now it's like they would throw a party if Trump got assassinated today. They'd be ecstatic. They'd be posting on Facebook about it. And you'd just be like, really? What happened? These weren't people. They were left-wingers, but these weren't people that were like incredibly malicious and callous when I was hanging out with them. What happened? And it's really, I know this is true in all of our politics, right? But it's really true in the online space. Where people used to debate that would be like, go fuck yourself, are now going to be like, maybe violence is justified against you. How did we get there? Let me give you an example. Someone I'm not going to interact with much anymore, who, by the way, check out their channel, did 2 cope streams here the past 2 days. Pisco, right? Let me be clear about something about Pisco. Dog shit debater, the sophistry, the gamesmanship, setting up mods to try to help them, changing all words or utterances, my preference. We've talked about it. You get it. Go watch the debate. It's on my channel. Pisco hasn't threatened violence, threatened to dox me, threatened litigation. It's just like, he's like, fuck you, and I'm like, fuck you. That's it. Totally above board. Right? No problem. Compare that to people like, we need assassination attempts. Really? How about doxing? I use my real name, obviously, and I've announced them in Pennsylvania. I'm a public figure to some degree. I ran for Congress. You could find newspaper articles about me running for Congress that talks about my hometown, where I'm living now. Sort of was part and parcel to having to be open about that stuff if you're running for Congress. I haven't really moved, so there you go. But it's still not comfortable. You know, when people are with malice throwing out your home address or shit like that. You know, the worst that's happened to me, one time on a live stream, someone, I forget what they call it, but someone called in with my mom's number while I was doing a live stream. And I was like, I got to take this call. And it was someone fucking with me that was watching the stream live, right? I had my previous place of employment was contacted several times about videos I've done. And people shared my place of employment publicly. It's not comfortable. It's not. You keep moving forward, but it's not comfortable. And oftentimes to even talk about that stuff is like a self-fulfilling prophecy. People are like, oh, that worked? Then I'm going to do that to him. And so it could oftentimes be the type of things you're sometimes better to not address it. Let them think nothing came of it. And so... Now, I want to say I cannot confirm the following. I cannot. So I'm taking the word of a friend. And if that ends up being incorrect, my sincerest apologies. But my friend and co-host of Law and Order, Ryan Mullally, and I will see at some point if I could find this clip, and maybe someone out there has it. He's been having a lot of interactions with Destiny lately. And Destiny called in to Law and Order one time to talk to him, and then Destiny called into Wick's show to talk to him. Ryan claims, and again, I thought that he had a clip. He has a video where he talks about it, but it doesn't show the clip. But Ryan's claim is this, and if he's mistaken or he's misled, I don't think he would mislead me, but whatever the case, I will apologize. He claims that on his stream after one of his interactions, or while Destiny was reviewing something of his, that Destiny said something to the following effect: I would never suggest doing this. And so I don't want to hear people saying I'm suggesting this, but it'd be crazy if someone found out like where Ryan works. Like, I wouldn't suggest that. And then Ryan said you could see on Destiny's chat that people were like, oh, yeah. Now that's scummy. If that happened, that's scummy. That type of shit is over the line. And I know there's been this big battle with, this potential lawsuit that's going on with Destiny, and he feels that people have outed his personal information and that of his child's mother and of his child. And that's fucked up if that's true. It is. But then there's allegations that he's been doing that to other people. This shit is too much. There's allegations with Ethan Klein that people called Child Protective Services on him. That's too much. That's too fucking much. And now we get to the part of the show about litigation. Now, of course, Ethan Klein, it looks like, I don't know much about this, but Ethan was suing several people. And he's just starting to sue iDubbbz, and iDubbbz put out an apology. And what we do in this, there are clearly things that would rise to the level of a lawsuit. Someone's repeatedly calling you a PDF or something. I understand. I do. But at some point, we have to be careful about being overly litigious in this space, because it could set a precedent that basically will eventually result in these spaces just sort of self-eliminating, like just no one wanting to do it anymore because of what it'll open you up to, or possibly the platforms themselves cracking down. Like YouTube being like, we don't want any part of this if this is going to be the case. So many of you know that I am part of a lawsuit that I've been sued by Sarah Tomato. And so I'm going to sort of, other than acknowledging that that happened, I'm going to actually talk about the case here for a little. But let me preface this by saying what I'm not going to do. What I'm not going to do is say anything about the facts of the case. I'm not. Instead, I'm just going to read the original complaint, the part where I'm being sued, which is brief. There are, I believe, 6 counts, and I am being sued in one of those 6 counts. So I will read that count to you. I will not be interested in disparaging her. There will come a time and a place for me to tell my side of the story as far as the facts go. But what I would like to do is just read the allegation, the complaint. And so you can see what it is I'm being sued for and the amount that I'm being sued for. Now, I will be honest that there has been an amendment with some other things added, but basically the case against me as is in this original complaint. The $ of the suit against me has gone up. In addition to me being sued, now my company, Normal America LLC, has also been sued. So that will put me in the position of I'll be able to give you, I believe, the theoretical dollar amount at minimum that I'm being sued for. But I'm going to be careful not to say anything that jeopardizes the case. I'm not interested in disparaging her as a human being or talking about the specific facts, the allegations within the case, etc. I only want to read to you this case. Now, the process has shown me a lot about the legal system. I've never been sued, believe it or not. So it's showed me a lot about the legal system that's sort of laughable. But what can you do? So I'll do my best as a layman to break down where the case is at and read this part that I'm involved with in the case. Now, clearly, Andrew Wilson and Rachel Wilson, I don't think it's been hidden, are also being sued in the same case. It is not my story to tell. So I will not be reading the parts of the complaint that relate to that. Andrew can feel free, or Rachel could do free to do that themselves. That is not my story to tell. So I'm only going to, so you might say, well, wait a minute. What is it that Rob allegedly did? We want to see the first part of the complaint. I'm not going to be showing them. Andrew, if he chooses to, can. If he chooses not to, perfectly reasonable as well. But given the length of time, I believe I was, it was like since April, I've been dealing with this, early April or something like that. Don't quote me on the date. I don't know exactly, but it's a long time. You know, we're basically 3 months in. And people have reached out to me, and I've not really given many details. And there have been people that are like pontificating on if I deserve this or my chances of winning or losing. So it's been difficult to not talk about it. And because of like the process, it looks to drag on for some time. I don't know when. That's why we have lawyers. I don't know about all of that stuff. But that's the gist of it. So I'm not going to be going back and saying like, now look at this video and look what was said, or here's my version of what happened. That's not what this is about. And I want to point out to you, and the reason I'm doing this is I think that it's important that people see just how much of a chilling effect the sort of actions I've been talking about and things like this litigation could have on these online spaces. And so you want to ask yourself, would you want to be involved in an online space where you could face yourself being sued in a manner of which I am? Is that people you'd want to be involved with? Is that a space you want to be involved with? So at some point when I have a better idea, I will probably do a stream to help recompense me for some legal fees. That is not what this is tonight, though. Suffice it to say, as you may have intuited, lawyers aren't cheap. And even if a lawsuit to your liking is frivolous, you still have to go through that process, and you have to hire an attorney to do it. And that's the way it's played. So at some point, I'll be doing a stream trying to recover some of the legal fees. But that's what I plan on doing here. So if you have a super chat and it's speaking about the details of the case or saying something too disparaging about Sarah or whatever, I'm probably going to skip it. I just want to let you know, because I'm not trying, even if it's reading someone else's commentary, to read something out loud on this show that could prejudice the case. This is not about the case per se. It is about the theme of these types of lawsuits and the chilling effect. And really, an inspiration that I have, yeah, Lactoid gets it, lawyer makes things work. The inspiration that I have in how I'm approaching this, believe it or not, is Afroman. I think Afroman taking a stance for free speech and saying, no, I'm not going to give in to this, I think has influenced me a lot. I think this space matters online. I think that the ability to go hard at people is something that we should appreciate and we should preserve. And I think that litigation of this style is atrocious and has a chilling effect on that. I will get myself an American flag suit. So I hope that I've prefaced what I'm about to show you. Now, you may be thinking, people are aware that the lawsuit has something to do with defamation. And I was shocked to find out that I was party to the lawsuit. I really was. I was shocked to find out that it resulted in litigation in the first place. But to find out I was a party to it, I was shocked because I was like, what could I have said that was possible defamation? Like, I said normal grumbling stuff about maybe like performance issues, things like, like, are you a good debater? You could, things like that. But I'm questioning, like, what could I have said? I described a situation of what I thought happened to me, but that, to me, it's like, I don't know, why would that be like defamation? And so, I will show you what the complaint says, and you can see for yourself what it is. There are 6 counts. This is from the original paperwork I was served. This is count 6, the only one that I am specifically named in this top section, where you can see it says plaintiff Wigman against defendants Rachel Wilson and robnoerr for counts 1 through 5, and counts tomato paste for noir count 2. So only count 6 is what I'm being sued for, and that is aiding and abetting in other issues, such as defamation, torturous interference, etc. So what I'm being sued for is aiding and abetting. Now we'll skip the part about Rachel. She's also being sued for the same thing. Here's me, right here, starting at 117. This is what I'm being sued for. I will read their words. Upon information and belief, defendant robnoerr knew that Andrew Wilson would engage in the aforementioned wrongful acts towards Ms. Wigman, which are alleged in 1 through 5, and substantially assisted or otherwise encouraged him to do so. Or, once he learned what he had done, nor ratified Wilson's wrongful conduct by knowingly providing material aid and support, encouragement, incitement, and aiding and abetting him for such wrongful acts. Upon information and belief, Nor's material aid and support to Andrew Wilson for these wrongful acts includes, but is not limited to, assisting him with production of the live streams at issue and encouraging him to engage in such wrongful contact against Ms. Wigman. Moreover, upon information and belief, Nor has personally profited from funds that the Crucible and Andrew Wilson received in relation to these live streams through which he committed the wrongful and torturous acts at issue against Ms. Wigman. As such, defendant robnoerr is also liable for Andrew Wilson's false and defamatory statements against Ms. Wigman and for his other wrongful and torturous conduct against her. And for as such, Ms. Wigman seeks an award of compensatory and punitive damages. We won't bury the lead. What are the compensatory and punitive damage that she's seeking? To remedy this, compensatory damages in excess of $75,000, punitive in excess of $75,000, in addition to a bunch of other stuff. I'm being sued, and by the way, now my company's privy or part of this lawsuit, which is individually being sued. I, for the sake of argument, will say the numbers are the same. So with two of those, I'm being sued at minimum $300,000, me and my company, for the crime of aiding and abetting Andrew's statements. Not statements I made, but aiding and abetting Andrew's statements. I won't talk about the facts as far as production of shows and things like that. I'll leave it stand on its face. So I'm not interested in talking facts. At some point, I'll have my position to say, but I'm not here to talk about the actual details of what's been alleged. I'm here to talk about the allegation itself. So I didn't know. I've never been in this sort of situation like this. I've never been in like any sort of civil suit. This is how I'm being told it goes. Forget about my case, just in general. A complainant files a complaint, normally how it goes. And there's various steps that then It's not like for me, I'm like, I watch Judge Judy. So it's like, hey man, this guy cut down my tree. It was on my property. I'm suing him for $5,000. And then you go on Judge Judy and you're like, nah, no, I didn't. It was on my property. And there you go. You argue it out. Well, that's not really how it works, right? There are stages to things. So the first stage is sort of a motion to dismiss. And a motion to dismiss is just like, you don't get your chance to be like, but this isn't true, or this didn't happen, or actually that's misleading. This is what really happened. Here's my version. That's not what a motion to dismiss is. A motion to dismiss is you basically say, even if we accept everything is true that's said here, there's still not a lawsuit here. For example, I see my buddy Grid is in the audience. Let's say I would say, I'm not saying this, I'm just saying this as an example. Let's say I said, you know what, Grid, you're a real piece of shit. And Grid's like, that's it. I'm not an actual piece of shit. I'm a human being with flesh and blood, not a piece of fecal matter. I'm suing you. And then he puts in the statement, it's like, robnoerr on the date of June 17th, 2026, on his show Normal America with robnoerr at 10:04 p.m. said that I was a piece of shit. Here you go. Here's the tape. Now, I went to the doctor, and here's my letter from my physician saying I am in fact a human being and not a piece of shit. Therefore, I feel this has been damaging to me. It was defamatory. I'm suing you. I would not get to argue for the motion to dismiss. I didn't say you were a piece of shit. I would just say, even if that is true, everything alleged is true, that's not a lawsuit. There, see, Grid's now uninviting me from dinner. Yes. That's the stage that we're at currently with the motion to dismiss. So the count's been filed, and then we'll say, well, we would like to dismiss because we don't think there's a lawsuit here. So I have not gotten a chance to sort of explain. And in a complaint, you're right, like, again, I'll use Grid as an example just because I know he's not going to give a shit. Let's say me and Grid have some big, long-standing drama. And I said something and he said something, and it escalates to the point where it's like, it's a 2-year saga of us just fucking with each other back and forth. If I'm going to sue Grid, I'm probably going to make it look in the best light possible for me. So I'm going to be like, Grid said this, and he 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 said this. I'm probably not going to say, Grid said this, and then I acted childishly and said this back, and then he said this, and then I kind of went over the line a little and said this. I'm probably going to leave that shit out in the original complaint. So Grid's not going to be able to really be able to challenge wait a minute, you gave as good as you got. It's just, okay, first it's motion to dismiss. Then if the motion is, if it's not dismissed, then you proceed to the next phase, which I'll be honest, I couldn't tell you exactly what the phases are. But ultimately, there's a lot of phases before something gets to a trial. So that's where we're at now. I've not really, and I want to be clear to say, I'm not commenting at this point on specifically what the complaint says I did. I'm commenting on specifically what I'm being sued for, which is aiding and abetting, torturous interference, and defamation, which Andrew is being sued for. I just want to talk about the hypothetical of what that means. It is a bad precedent, I think, for people to be engaged. Again, there's one thing to accuse people of gratuitous, heinous crimes, like you're a PDF and you're not. That we understand that crosses a line, right? Threats and like threats of physical violence and things of that nature. We get that. But beyond that, are we really wanting a system where we're setting up lawsuits um, for things that don't rise to that level of words that were said? I'll leave you to be the judge of it. But there seems to be a step beyond, which is, but what if you just occasionally work for someone that says things and they say something and people were like, well, we assume that you worked with them to plan for him to say that, or we assume that you heard him say that and didn't correct the record. So, lawsuit. Now, the design, I think that one of the things that will happen, and again, I'll speak in the abstract, is if this becomes the norm, it will be very difficult to imagine how almost everyone in the space couldn't find themselves on the receiving end of a lawsuit. Presumably, a theory could be made if you're on a panel with someone. Let's say I go to Speakeasy's panel and someone's sending me, I get $60 super chats. And some random person on Speakeasy's panel says something that another person finds to be defamatory. I profited from that stream in the sense that people were sending me super chats, even if I didn't know or have an opinion on the issue as to whether or not it happened, didn't happen, etc. Theoretically, by virtue of being on that panel, I theoretically could have aided and abetted by not interjecting. I think that we really need to ask ourselves, is this the type of environment that we want to craft? Do you want to be interacting in environments where, through no language of your own, you could find yourself on the receiving end of lawsuits seeking damages of over $100,000? And so, for me, it's sort of, I suppose one of the effects would be walk on eggshells. Don't ever say anything that could be considered mean to a person. If you know someone online that said something that could be mean, always be careful to come out and say, please, that mean thing wasn't right. As sort of a shield to the person that may be litigious, that would be a way to stop people from saying things. I suppose that would be a possibility. But I'm not going to give in to that. And I'm going to, sort of aggressively argue that I don't think that that's what this online space should be. I think the online space that we're engaged with, whether it be debating, politics, etc., should not be a place where you're afraid to say anything whatsoever because people at the drop of the hat could get litigious or possibly not even say anything. Just be in an environment where someone says something that someone decides they're going to be litigious against that person and you. The nature of this, and I'll just be upfront with this, it's not cheap. And I'm sure that maybe that's how some people, I don't know, I'm not making any commentary about Sarah, but you could see how someone could say, you know what? Even if I don't win, I'll cost you money. There. And it's not cheap. It's not. I'll be fine. I still do very well on the show here. You all support is very much appreciated. But there's a lot of people, and now I'm completely talking outside the scope of this, outside the scope of my case. So table that and table the bad behavior, outside bounds behavior that I've been talking about in the debate sphere. But, you know, I had heard stories. I know at least one friend that I went to college with that's an attorney, and I know some other attorneys now. And they had told me stories before. And you hear about this, but once you're like in a lawsuit, you could really see this, which is sort of the idea of like, if you're in a certain position in life, oftentimes you'll find yourself the target of litigious people because the system is set up as such that it's oftentimes better to just settle than the money it would cost you to argue it out in court, given the length of time and all of the stages that you have to go through. And so you may find yourself in a position, for example, where it's like you're a business owner and someone steals money out of your register and you're like, hey, you're fired. And they're like, I'm suing you. I didn't steal, prove it. Wrongful termination. I'm suing you for $1 million. And your attorney's just going to say to you like, look, you're going to win. We could take it to court. But by the end of it, you're going to end up paying $27,000 in court fees to your attorney and to court. And it's not like you're going to be able to countersue. This person's not going to have money. So pay him. Just give him $10,000 to go away. And it sounds like there's a lot of that happens. And that's shitty that we have a system like that. It really is. But for me, I think it's important in this space, much like Afroman did, to say, I think that the idea of this type of litigation, aiding and abetting of this sense, is something that I vehemently think is a bad idea for this space to capitulate to. I'm not being sued in Pennsylvania. I'm being sued in Maryland. So I don't quite know Maryland law to the question about PA. Yeah, Wade Bogg says that's what happened at I know people, businesses that have talked about this. It's what happened at my work. Someone sued for like $2 million for unpaid wages. They just give them a $10K settlement. And it seems like that's goes with the theme of what we see in our country. When you see the Mullally fraud and all of this stuff, it's like there's a lot of loopholes. And a lot of people are looking to take advantage of those loopholes. And then there's a lot of people that are just like, I just go to work. And if I need more money, then I just go to work more, or I get a second job. And then you have all these other people. It's like, I'm going to take every loophole I could get. I knew a guy once that bragged to me that the best thing that happened to him was he slipped and fell at a department store, and it paid his way through law school. And he never outright said that it was intentional, but he heavily implied it. And it's like, I don't know. Like, I hurt my back at work, and I could tell my work was like, oh shit, this guy. And thus far, I've just been like, no, just pay for the treatment. That's it. I'm not saying there's never a place for that. If you cripple yourself to the point where it like negatively affects your life for like the rest of your life or something, that's understandable. Yeah, good point, Windmill. You're right. Biggest loophole is Trump pardoning his buddy who stole $1.3 billion from Medicare after serving. Totally agree. Thank you for the insight. So, but it seems like that's where we're at, in large part in the country. And, for me, it's just anathema. Like, you get litigious over stuff like that. And it's funny because you see, I saw it. I saw that there were people that were like, talking about this because obviously the case gets made public. Okay. And it makes sense to not want to talk about it a lot because you don't want to make that mistake. So I'm being careful to like not talk about the details of the case, just reading what was said. That's it. But you do see people that are like commenting like, oh yeah, this is a slam dunk case. Ha ha ha. I don't like Rob, so it's funny to see him going through this. That's fair. I understand human emotion. That's fair. I'd only say the following. What if you found yourself? Not for something you said, but you were on a panel or allegedly encouraged someone. How would you feel? Would you be laughing then? If you're those people that sit back and laughed? Man, anything could happen. Maybe you run into someone who's a little more litigious and they say, you know what? I feel there were damages with me. And I feel that you all encouraged it. But wait a minute, we didn't say anything. That's aiding and abetting. That's aiding and abetting. Now, to be fair, probably most people didn't know exactly what my portion of the lawsuit was, and almost none of them know what the portion with Andrew is as well. They don't know. And like I said, Andrew's welcome to show what he would like from the complaint. I have no problem. If he gave the go-ahead, I'd read the whole darn thing. I don't care. But I don't have the go-ahead, and I just wanted to read my part. And it's not that I was told not to do it. I just didn't ask because I'm only interested in reading my part of it. But that's where we stand. So I am on the hook for $300,000 for the crime or for the complaint, the civil complaint of aiding and abetting things Andrew said. So as far as timeline for how long it'll take for things to be decided, I'm not sure. That I don't know. There's a process to this sort of stuff. For me, obviously, I'm like, I'm just going to listen to what people that are more in the know say. I don't really have a lot. One thing about me is I understand the things I'm good at, and I understand the things I'm not good at. And so I'm not going to be you always watch these Law and Order episodes where people are like, I'm going to represent myself. That's not going to be me. Leave people that know what's going on, sort of deal with it. So not just talking about like strategy of like how to argue or something. I mean, quite literally, like, I just don't know the formalities, the process of like, well, how long does this stage take? And then what happens? And then what's the next stage? I just don't know. I don't. And I trust that, the people that you hire, you trust will have your best interest and they're professionals and they'll know what they're doing. And so that's it. But I just want you all to know that, of course, this affects me personally, but it also, I think, affects a greater milieu of what we're seeing as sort of escalatory tactics when it comes to the online debate sphere. And so, I am going to stand up for myself and for this sort of stuff. I don't want to see spaces like this have to go away because of situations like this and people becoming overly litigious. So I'm going to do my part to try to push back against this. And, but I think it's reasonable for people to know. And it was a choice to include me and to include Rachel. That was a choice to include for aiding and abetting. That's a choice. So even if you were a person that was like, look, I don't know exactly what the alleged commentary was that triggered this in the first place. Maybe there's some there. I'll let people make up their own mind. Again, that's not my issue. Regardless of what you think of that, it was a choice to attach me. And I think my opinion is that it is a far reach That's, and I thought that, for me, I'm the type of person that immediately was like, I want to respond to this publicly. Everybody publicly knows this happens, but you got to be a little careful when it comes to lawsuits. So you're not trying to say anything. And, there was agreement that it was like, it was all right for, to just read from the complaint. And so, just so people have an idea, because a lot of people are asking me, like, what is it? What did you say? Because people assume that I allegedly had said something defamatory. And I read the count. It's aiding and abetting is what I'm being charged with. So, that's where we're at. And I just want to let you know, regardless of what happens with the other parties involved, that's where we're at here. And so hopefully, win, lose, or is there a draw in a legal case? I don't know. I'll be able to talk more about it once the case is over. And I fully do plan on talking more about it once the case is over. But for now, I'm not really interested in going into any specific details about these specific allegations, just the actual case. So, and I think that it's one of these things, like, I'll say this, right? I've seen like the cases where someone, like, do you ever see a case on like Judge Judy where someone will have like legitimate damages? Like, hey, that guy, borrowed my lawnmower and wrecked it. And it's like, okay, how much was it? It was $229. Okay, seems open and shut. You damaged the property for $200, but I'm also suing for $5,000 for pain and suffering. And the judge just rolls their eyes. They're like, okay, So I'm on the hook for $300,000 for aiding and abetting. So, but you go back to what I was talking about previously. You have people that are increasingly calling for doxing. You have people that are increasingly calling for like political violence. People that are how many times has Tim Pool been swatted? And what I was saying is, it's all bad. That's bad. But it did seem that was like the biggest of the big. Like, I'm not saying this to belittle what happened to Tim Pool. I'm not. But Tim Pool's huge, right? You would be shocked to find out that, like, let's just take someone like, let me see who I have in the chat that I could use as an example. And I'm not trying to be mean here. Well, let's just take Grid Motorsports was in here. Grid Streams. I mean, you'd be shocked to find out that a Grid panel got swatted. And that's no offense to Grid, but it's like Grid's audience and reach isn't anywhere near Tim Pool's. And so if we get to a point where even streamers that are more up and coming, they're getting swatted, they're getting threats, they're getting doxxed, it seems like an increase in the tendency for those tactics to occur. Thanks for the raid if someone raided. Oh, geez, is this the guy that's in the race? Who, me? Whatever. Rhetorically defective. Thanks, man. Why is everyone asking if I have a black wife? No, my wife is white. You were told I was big into race mixing. I've been married for 14 years to one lady. All right. Just ban people, I guess. Anyways, so I will just for the record, one more time. I was just talking about the lawsuit which Sarah Tomato filed against me. It was this is I'll read it one more time for you. This is the original complaint that was sent to me. There's 6 counts. I'm only named in count 6, aiding and abetting. Sarah Tomato, defendants Rachel Wilson and Robert Noerr for counts 1 through 5, and her company against me for count 2. But it's aiding and abetting. And what I allegedly did that I'm being sued is, upon information and belief, defendant Robert Noerr knew that Andrew Wilson would engage in aforementioned wrongful acts against or towards Ms. Wegman, which are alleged in counts 1 through 5, and substantially assisted or otherwise encouraged him to do so. Or, once he had learned what he had done, Noerr ratified Wilson's wrongful conduct by not only providing material aid and support, encouragement, incitement, and aiding and abetting him for such wrongful acts. Wasn't something I said. It's Andrew said something that she thinks is a legal claim, and I either substantially assisted or encouraged him to do that, or once I learned what he had done, I knowingly provided aid and support, encouragement, incitement, and aiding and abetting for wrongful acts. Upon information and belief, Noerr's material aid and support to Andrew Wilson for these wrongful acts includes, but is not limited to, assisting him with the production of the live streams at issue and encouraging him to engage in such wrongful conduct against Ms. Wegman. Moreover, upon information and belief, Noerr has personally profited from funds that the Crucible and Andrew Wilson received in relation to these live streams, to which he committed the wrongful and torturous acts at issue against Ms. Wegman. As such, defendant Robert Noerr is also liable for Andrew Wilson's false and defamatory statements against Ms. Wegman and for his other wrongful and torturous conduct against her, as alleged in counts 1 through 5. And for such, Ms. Wegman seeks an award of compensatory and punitive damages. And those damages are, I don't know if this changed, by the way, later and increased, but $75,000 compensatory damages and $75,000 punitive. I believe my LLC was added to this at a later date, and it's being sued for the same amounts, which would put me at $150,000 to $300,000 at minimum. That's the minimum. They're seeking excess of that. So that is the position I find myself in. So sorry. I didn't mean to click that and bring it up, but thank you, Richard Fitz. But the point is that I'm trying to make is that, like, these spaces are getting more and more outside the scope of just people arguing with each other or calling people names or things of that nature. And, I don't know motivations. I'm not speaking to that. I'm not. But you can see how if this becomes the norm, what people could do is, particularly, like, let's say that you were a person that, like, you're an attorney yourself, or you personally know an attorney, or you're a very wealthy person that could just afford an attorney. If it became the norm that things like suing for hundreds of thousands of dollars for aiding and abetting, in this sense, people that are saying things, see you, Grid. If that were to be the norm, you could quickly see how people that would have easier access to sort of legal resources uh, could really use this to just, the process is sort of the punishment. And so, in my case, regardless of what motivation is, it is going to cost money. It is. And if someone decided that that was the intent, even a loss of a lawsuit, it'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. It costs money. So, yeah, that's, I wanted to get it out there. Obviously, I could discuss specific details at the culmination of the case. Then I'll be able to, regardless of how it goes, I'll be able to speak more about specific details of it and be more like, get more into the details of like what my process was throughout it and all of that stuff. But I just wanted to do two things here. I wanted to show, because so many people have been asking me, I wanted to show exactly what it was that I was being sued for. And there you have it. That's the count that I was listed in. And I wanted to, in the original complaint, and I wanted to sort of talk about what I see as escalatory techniques. It's not just the litigation, it's people that are more open to calls for violence. It's people that are more open to doxing and swatting and all of these other things. So, it has taken a lot of my time. It absolutely has taken a lot of my time. It certainly has. And takes a lot of time and money. So, no need to apologize or anything. So, yeah, that's sort of the that's the issue at hand. So I don't want, for me, I don't want to be involved in spaces where this propensity to just become litigious like this becomes the norm. And for me, I will personally try to remove myself from spaces like that, because I think that you open yourself up to risk, even if you don't say a word. Merely getting super chats or being friends with or doing a show with anyone that says something that someone else has a problem with and argues it's defamatory. It doesn't even matter if you had anything to do with it. There is a case to be made. And the other thing is, I guess this is the other point I wanted to make. One of the frustrating parts about this is I've not had an opportunity to have anything of my claims heard in court yet. We're not at the point where even the motion to dismiss has been ruled upon by a judge. So thus far, it's been, a few months and some change or something. And I'm, you get the attorney, you pay the bills, you have all this stuff. You're still not even at the spot where a judge or someone in authority looks at it and says, okay, is this reasonable? Is this something that could proceed? We're not even there yet at all. And so for something like this, I feel like for me, it's this sort of thing where it's like, my goodness, if I could talk to a judge for like 10 minutes and be like, this is my side. What is this? I think the judge would most likely be like, oh, yeah, it's crazy. That seems that would open up potentially millions of people that ever heard a claim that later has been argued as being defamatory as possibly facing a lawsuit. But that's where we're at with the case. So probably won't be discussing it much. Like I said, when the case ends, for me, and here's the other thing: there's no guarantee. And parties named are myself and Rachel Wilson and my company and Andrew Wilson and the Crucible. I think that's it. And so it may end for some of the parties and not others. It may all end at the same time. I don't know. Like, that's obviously to be seen in the future. But when it ends for me, I will talk about what happened with me. I will be, absolutely. And that's true if I lose the case as well. I would say that I'm quite confident. I know that I have done nothing wrong. And so I'm quite confident that things will be seen my way. But regardless, I will let you all know. People are looking into where my friend Ryan Mullally lives or works, etc. People in debates now are saying that political assassinations are on the table. Lawsuits such as this. That's where we find ourselves, in this sort of community. So, there you have it. And then, like I said, I'll also do a stream at some point. I do okay. I'll admit, I'm not missing many meals, but I don't do well enough where it's like legal fees, or just added things that I could put on every month, and it's like no big deal. That's not the position I'm in. I'm not in a position where it's like once extra bills that are 4 figures or whatever a month are just easily doable. It's not where I'm at. So, yeah, of course, there's always a chance that there could be gag orders or, whatever. My attorney might say, hey, I don't want you talking about it, whatever. But barring any legal reason that I can't, I fully intend to talk about it. Because in my opinion, I think, much in the same way as Afroman stood up, he could have just, easily said, you know what? How do I make this go away? He's a wealthy man that people were coming after. And I think that he did something noble. And you could tell that it was emotional for him to get that victory. Let's see if I could find his. Outside the courthouse, after he won his court case. Hopefully I'll have my moment. Well, hopefully it doesn't get to court, but if it does, hopefully I'll have my moment.
Yeah, we did it, America. Yeah, we did it. Freedom of speech. Right on, right on. Yeah, God bless America. Yeah, power to the people. Yeah, 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 yeah.
I don't know that I'll make a rap album. Maybe. Who knows? Maybe I will make a rap album when all things culminate here. So, there you have it. So, for all the people that asked me about this, dozens of people that have asked me if it was true that there was a lawsuit and what I said and what I was being sued for, there you have it. So, boy, punch a white woman in the jaw, like, I don't know. Did he do that? I don't know. No, I don't plan on punching anyone. He definitely has a Don King energy, doesn't he? All right, let's read super chats to the extent I could read them. MT Alex over on Rumble, $5 says, how's the mower? I have not had it looked at. I got to get it up on the winch My father-in-law has a little winch, just a little one that'll lift it right up, and then we'll get a good look at it. So I go on vacation Saturday, so we'll look at that when we get back. So, Beaten Cheeks, thanks for being a member, my friend. Really appreciate it. Revan's Padawan. Oh man, that's some Night of the Old Republic, the first one. Shit, I remember playing that. Says for the Griff, not one step back. Thank you. Beaten Cheeks, $5 says, but you're beautiful, Black Rob. Don't ever be a DJ like myself. Well, I'm an incel, but yeah. Okay. Tiger Nuts, $20 says, I'd never vote Democrat, but I can't blame people for doing so. I can't understand why Democrats would be willing to vacate morals and ethics to be on the same page, and the Repubs just fight with each other until they lose power, because they're not, these Republicans that are doing this are not Republicans. So it's clear, like they're not losing, right? That's their intended purpose, to not get these things passed. Val Van Gogh, $20. Thank you, my friend. Says, did you hear about the Palisade fires? Was arson motivated by communist sentiments from a single person inspired by Luigi Mangione? 12 deaths and thousands of families without a home. Largest terror attack perpetuated by a citizen. I don't know about that latter part, but I did hear about this. This has been known for months, right? That the guy was basically like a left-wing lunatic that was inspired by the acts of violence. Crazy. Pix Paradox, $20 says, Narn Corp Insider has indicated the defense is going to reference the Animal Welfare Act, which also holds participants accountable. Hashtag DinoGate. Hashtag Dino Class Action. DinoGate has not become litigious yet. There is, obviously, a fair play and transparency investigation. John Hammond has responded. The jerks. Truth Revolt TV, $5 says, are you countersuing? Blink once for yes and twice for no. Not going to discuss legal strategy or anything like that. So just wanted to talk about the nature of the allegation against me, or the complaint against me. Jim Hayes, $20 says, it's all complete bollocks. Stay strong, brother. Thank you, man. Really appreciate it. Kevin De La Riva, $10. Thank you. Appreciate it. Blasterbot, $5 says, what's Grid's connection to DinoGate, Rob? We need to pass Carnestein Transparency Act, release the Carnestein files, DinoGate, hashtag Grid is John Hammond. Oh, my goodness. Grid, what's up, man? $20 says, Rob, I've been sued several times. The only person winning in this case is the lawyers. Seriously, get a shark, pay them their money, and let them do their thing. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Really do. Lord Loss, $5 says, so you and Andrew have the same lawyer since your lawsuit hinges on him winning and losing. Well, to be clear, I don't think the part of me hinges on him winning or losing. Clearly, if seeing as how mine is aiding and abetting, if there was nothing to aid and abet, that would seem strongly to indicate that I didn't do anything. But I could also, outside the scope of that, win. But as far as specific legal things, legal strategy or theory, not really interested in talking about. Metal Minister Show says, tomato has sour grapes, someone call ambulance or Fifi's. There's literally no case here. It's an opinion, but Pix Paradox, $50 says for legal sheet. Thank you. Appreciate it. Kill All Bunnies, $10 says, hail from Lord Artie, the unmiscegenator, first of his name, Rob. Demand that you divorce your black wife for the good of all. I do not have a black wife. Hellbat, $5 says, wow, so they're going to try to get you for aiding and abetting, but higher courts can't get rid of sanctuary cities that aid and abetted legals. That's a different matter altogether, but yeah. Paul Zaw, thanks for the $10. It's not a lot, man, but I appreciate you. Hope everything's going well. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Adam Adamant, $50. Thank you, man. It says put this towards your legal fees. Hopefully the judge throws it out. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I don't know. Now I'm being accused. I thought it was Andrew that had the ex-black wife. Now it's me too. I will say this. I did drink a lot back in the day. I don't remember ever getting married. Yeah, she has a lot to learn about my past. I guess me too. I don't know. Quietly remove the one ex-wife. Yeah. I also thought you were the first wife. Yes. It was Rob Shaprio, my twin. That bastard. But I will say too that, like, you know, I don't know what exactly Destiny said as far as the whole, like, oh, it'd be a shame if Ryan, like, if someone found where Ryan lives or works or something like that. Like, that's no good. Right? That's no good. You don't mess around with stuff like that. It's a joke from Rhetorically Defective's channel. Oh, okay. All right. Let's play a song or something because I gotta go to the restroom. Well, I don't know. First off, before I do, since a lot of people were talking about my alleged black ex-wife, what do you guys think? Is it ever okay to wear blackface? I mean, I don't know. Let's ask an expert.
Anyways, next question. Is blackface or brownface ever okay?
Only if you're a pretty kitty.
Okay.
Strong words there. You know. All right. Everybody, the Coach Mim song. Well, we mentioned Andrew. Let's do a little olive jar song while I go to the restroom. Everybody remember when Andrew couldn't open that olive jar? Ha! Yeah. That's right. He had to be saved by Jake Rattlesnake. Remember that? I remember. There we go. Oh, what is that? Who changed the background? Oh, that's me changed the background, meathead. That was Afroman. Here we go. Enjoy the olive jar song.
Winning debates, all fools are brought down, lying in your way.
Ugh. There we go. Oh boy. Emmett, thanks for the raid, my man. How you doing? You missed it. We were talking about my lawsuit for aiding and abetting. Yay. T-Rex did nothing wrong. Please. All the dinosaurs are involved. They're all crazy. They're all crazy. Aiding and embedding. I couldn't embed to save my life. Like, I'm so technologically illiterate. So, in other news, we talked a little about the Iran deal yesterday. I think it's worth saying, like, just because I had to remove that video yesterday, it definitely seems like Trump got in over his head and realizes now that they didn't accomplish a mission in a timely enough fashion and that it was going to significantly hurt energy prices at home and around the world. And so he's looking for a way out. That's what it looks like. It looks like, as I suggested, and many others did, that it was a terrible idea to go in the first place. In my opinion. Now, I don't think it's as bad as many people were saying. I'm still shocked, unless the official tally's bullshit, that we only lost 13 or 14 troops, which is a tragedy. We also lose on average like 20 a month just in training exercises, which, by the way, is crazy. I looked that up and was like, really? That's crazy. But the bigger story today, I thought, as we talked about there at the beginning a little, is this reporting this story here. Senate Majority Leader John Thune admitted some Senate Republicans hate President Trump too much to support the Save America Act, the Daily Caller's been told. Thune admitted during a closed-door GOP lunch on Wednesday that some Republican senators oppose President Trump so strongly they will never vote for the Save America Act, regardless of the legislation's merits, according to several sources familiar with the matter. Now, anonymous source, great, no problem, understand, right? But it does seem that this is the case. They hate Trump, and more importantly, they hate his voters. Again, we talked about this a lot. John Boehner, Paul Ryan, Michael Still, all these people in high up positions of the Republican Party. And as soon as they're out, their contempt for their own base shows through. Now, Trump did something interesting. He wanted Bill Pulte in at DNI, and allegedly the scuttlebutt is Pulte is going to really ramp up investigations against deep state actors. So, of course, the House Senate leadership's not going to want this. So they want this other guy. So Bill Pulte was put in as a temperate measure until they could successfully confirm this other guy. Trump's like, no, not sending that guy. Now, Trump wanted to sign FISA authorization, which is a huge mistake. We need to get rid of the FISA bullshit. We need to. So it's a disappointment that Trump's going to sign off on it. But it is what it is. Trump gets pissed off about all the stuff that's going on. So he's like, all right, here's the deal. I will not sign FISA. He has a whole spiel on this. Basically, Trump's argument was, let's see if I can find this. It would behoove us to just read Trump's own words. This is a post from his today. It says, the Republicans agreed with Democrats to remove very fair and talented William Pulte from serving as acting DNI in return for getting FISA approved by the Democrats. So he's like, Democrats want Pulte out. So Republicans are like, fine for FISA. This is classic, by the way. This is classic. The Democrats want someone out that would probably be good for us. And the Republicans are like, yeah, but we want something that Rob would also hate. So it's like the Democrats want something I don't like, and the Republicans are like, we'll only do that because we also have something that Rob won't like, FISA. Yay, I win. Or people like me, you know. So basically, Republicans are like, look, we want FISA. You want Pulte out. Let's do it. Let's get Pulte out and FISA. Okay. That's where we're at. And Trump continues. However, the Republicans moved so fast with the hearings of the great Jay Clayton, current Attorney General from Southern District of New York, that Pulte would be gone before Democrats would vote on FISA. In other words, the bargaining chip, Bill Pulte, is already going to be gone because Jay Clayton's going to be sworn in as the permanent DNI. So Pulte won't be there. So what do the Democrats do according to Trump? Now the Democrats are saying they'll vote against FISA. So we have this bargaining chip and you have this bargaining chip. So we each compromise. But we just got rid of our bargaining chip. So they're like, okay, we don't have to compromise now. So the Republicans wound up having fulfilled their commitment, but Democrats broke the deal. In addition, the newly formed U.S. Attorney Jamie McDonald must be confirmed and blue-slipped. Because of the ridiculous views of Republicans on blue-slipping, Democrats are often willing to nix it. I may not be able to get extraordinary Sullivan and Cromwell partner Jamie approved. And I don't want to take Jay Clayton away from a great job he's doing until Jamie is in place. Therefore, to add a slight bit of intrigue, but for the good of the nation, the people of the country, I will not approve FISA without the Save America Act going along with it. In other words, what he's saying to the Republicans is, you've dropped the ball. Okay. Something you guys want is this FISA Act reauthorized. I'm not going to do it unless you do the Save Act as well. Which is smart bargaining from Trump. Not complicated, actually. The Republicans fell into a trap. Regarding the approval of the great patriot Jay Clayton, we are canceling the Senate hearings for DNI today, which they did. And basically, Tom Cotton was like, you can't do that. And then Tom Cotton was like, okay, I guess you can. And then Trump continues, and will not be going forward until Jamie McDonald is approved to be U.S. Attorney. In the meantime, Bill Pulte will remain the acting director of national intelligence. Thank you for your attention on this matter. Now, I appreciate Trump's attempt at using leverage. And this is exactly what I said with like the Iran conflict. I was against it, but I said, even if you're for it, here's one of the reasons you should be upset about this. Because Trump is trying to negotiate things like the SAVE Act getting passed. And so he could have said, look, if you neocon type people really think it's important we go into Iran, okay, get that SAVE Act passed. Let's see it. Get it done. Why are you going to give this part of the base that refuses to give you your key signature legislation? Why are you giving them something for free? Be like, no, you're going to have to earn it. I have something you want. You have something I want. Let's trade. If you just give them what they want and then you're like, okay, well, you guys pass the SAVE Act now, they're going to be like, I'm going to pass on that. Sorry, you have nothing left to give us. So like I said with the Iran conflict, yes, Trump needs to understand that these establishment type Republican people don't like him. So you have to negotiate with him, not as a friend, but as an adversary. However, having said all of that, if I was a betting man, and I'm really not, I would bet big money on Trump ends up eventually signing FISA legislation without the SAVE Act. I'd bet big money on that. They're not going to do it. They're not going to pass the SAVE Act. And the truth is Trump wants FISA authorization, which is bad, and Republicans want it, and they'll pay lip service and kiss his ass just enough to get it. So in my opinion, although I approve of this strategy of Trump, I think he'll cave in. Like maybe Republicans will threaten oil prices or something. That seems to work with Trump. So I see the Navy comments. No. Well, the key is it's not, you have to vote them out in the primary because a Democrat win actually helps these people. One, if Trumpism or MAGA is soundly defeated, all of the money and the groundwork and everything's going back towards the old guard Republicans, the Thunes, the Cornyn type people. That's where it's going to go. Secondly, by the way, these people hate Trump, right? Secondly, it allows them to be like, well, we would have. It's the same as the filibuster. The filibuster being there allows the Republicans to be like, ah, shucks. Hey, constituents, we wanted to do things, but we couldn't because we needed 60 votes because that dang filibuster. Sorry. That's what losing the elections is like. Sorry, we couldn't govern. We lost the election. We lost the House, so we couldn't do anything. We did. We were poised to do all this good stuff. And then the primary voters keep voting them in. Whereas if they're there and it's like they suck, they're not doing it, this makes it more likely that someone primaries someone like John Cornyn, which we just saw work. If Republicans were the minority in the House and the Senate, there is zero chance that Cornyn loses. He's going to retain that primary seat. The real battle within the Republican Party is the primaries. But instead of hyper-focused on that, it seems what so many people want to do is just take their ball and go home and say, well, I didn't get what I wanted from Trump. So screw it. I'm not going to vote for that side. And why should we, Rob? Look how bad they are. Well, yeah. But the key is you vote them out in the primary. And if not, you vote them in to expose them. Voting in Democrats on the opposite side just make it more likely that whoever the next Republican is, if there is a next Republican, is going to be someone that's just going to be the same old, same old. Now, looking at other stories I've saved. Another part in this, Mike Lee, who's been out there saying, come on, Republicans, we need to start debating the SAVE Act, get it to the floor. This was the story with him today. News, GOP senators went after Senator Mike Lee during closed-door lunch meeting today over his push for the Save America Act, and what one source described as a pile-on. Senators Cornyn and Kennedy challenged Lee about his strategy and complained that Trump is being led to believe it's possible for the Senate to pass it, leading to Republicans attacking each other and Trump undermining his own agenda. My suggestion, if I'm Trump, is I just say, I'm not going to do anything you guys want until you do the SAVE Act. I'll fucking veto every single bill you put forth. Every fucking one. I just don't care. There. Now, if your argument is, but we can't do it, okay. Then I'm going to push to primary every one of you motherfuckers. That's where we're at. Everyone. You know Kennedy. He's the real folksy guy. Here's a picture of him. Him. That guy. He's funny. He's very funny. But, you know, I don't know what else to say. Like, it is clear. And, like, if I was in the room, if I had Trump's ear, if I was like his consigliere, right, his confidant, I would have told him, like, man, these people hate you. When all these people are coming to you like, yeah, Iran, go to Iran. Yeah, do that. Tell these people to kick rocks. They hate you, man. They're not doing it. They don't care if this sabotages your chance to get anything domestically done. That's a win-win. They don't want you to get anything done domestically. They don't want it. They don't want mass deportations. They don't want voter ID. They don't want you have to be a citizen to vote. Why would they not want it? Ask yourself that. Why wouldn't they want voter ID? Well, let me rephrase the question. Why do you think Democrats are so adamant against voter ID? Why do you think? Why don't think Kennedy's a Cornyn guy? I know. I think Kennedy's just like, I want FISA and it has to happen. And dang it, no one's going to vote for, we can't get the SAFE Act passed. We can't. So we just need to move on. Yeah, that's why. So they could rig it. So they could cheat. Now, follow-up question. Why don't certain Republicans want voter ID? Why do you think certain Republicans don't want voter ID? I'll give you a clue. You already know the answer. They don't want it because they're afraid they'll lose. That's why. Because it probably benefits them too. Especially in like a primary process. Imagine being so against the idea of voter ID, which 90% of your base wants. Why are you against it? Well, maybe that means I won't get elected again. Yep. Maybe. There's a lot to say on this grooming scandal. I can't talk about it again today. I'm so fucking disgusted by yesterday and talking about it. I just need a break from it just for one day. I really do. And there's a lot to say on it. All I'll say from this point is the silence is deafening. It's absolutely deafening. All of the lefties that talked about violence against women and believe all women and everything, where are they? Where are they? I read Chloe's story, you know. So, now I started early tonight, and so I am going to end early. But before I do, we'll do stupid-ass whip songs and shit like that, don't worry. Before I do, though, tomorrow is going to be a normal stream. I don't think we're doing no prep debate, so it's going to be a normal stream tomorrow evening. Friday is going to be an early stream because I have to drive at 6 a.m. Saturday to go on our vacation. So, and I have a big drive ahead of me, so I got to make sure I got precious cargo, a beautiful wife, an amazing son, I might have some other family members in the car with me as well. So you got to be sharp. I take that serious. If you know you're driving, you got to be well rested. So I want to make sure if we're leaving at 6 a.m. that I'm getting to sleep around 10 p.m. So I'm not going to start streaming at 10 p.m. So the intent is to stream maybe early in the day. I haven't decided what time, maybe like 3 p.m., a time like that. That's the plan. From there, while I'm on the road, I plan on trying to stream on days I can from my phone. So next week, it'll be YouTube exclusive because when I'm streaming from the phone, I don't really know how to simul stream. Let me see. Someone sent me a message. Sorry. So, yeah. Boomers be booming. Huh? I am a boomer, though. What's up, Roman King? How you doing, man? So, all right. Now's the stupid time of the show where I do whip songs, stupid shit like that. I hate them. We owe 0 tonight. So unless someone... At this point, $6 will get you one. $100 donation will play a song from this stupid wheel. $150, you could pick a specific song. $200, you could create a new version. If I take one thing from today, from the general theme of what I was trying to say, I think that this sort of... There is utility to some degree in what we're doing on here. And even if you don't believe that, just as a community... just for entertainment purposes or fun purposes or whatever, we should really push back against the more slimy shit that's going on. The doxing, the calls to violence, the litigiousness. We should push back. We shouldn't accept that. That's bad for the space, in my opinion. That's my feelings on the whole thing. So, and like I said, I'll have more details in the future about the specifics of my case. And, at some point, we'll try to raise some money for, once we have a better idea of what the defense expense is going to be. So, we got Wicked Wally, $5. Says, just in case I'm busy before Sunday, have a wonderful Father's Day with the family. I absolutely intend to. I'm going to have a great time. I really am. It'll be nice. Chop Chop, $6. Thank you so much, my friend. Oh, and that'll get us to one stupid, horrible whip song. Yay! One stupid, horrible whip song coming up. Hurrah! I'm going to get out cheap tonight. One song that I could do. This one's horrible and doesn't count.
Where there's a whip, there's a whip. Where there's a whip, there's a whip. We don't want to go to war, but today, but the Lord of the Last is nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day, all day. Where there's a whip, there's a way. 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 Left, right, left, right. Where there's a way. A cricket that just David and Michael go through day and night and more. For we are the slaves of the Dark Lord's war.
All right. That one didn't count because it was under a minute. I hate the one. I'm glad you liked them. Thank you, Steele. Caleb, that's what I meant to. I'm glad you like it. I hate it, as you may have guessed. Flamenco. Oh, hey.
Where there's
Ugh. That was you. I left your name up there accidentally. I gotta admit, I think that we're having trouble reaching the goal now, and I know why. Dino Gate. They got it. I pissed everyone off with Dino Gate. Son of a... I knew it. It was a big mistake. Oh, boy. Now I look like a fool. An absolute fool. The investigation is ongoing. Absolutely true. Oh, shit. I had to hit my own channel there to find how to raid someone, and I was breathing heavy. Everyone's going to get on me for that. Rob breathes heavy all the time. Yeah, it's true. It's true. I'm a heavy breather. Yeah. What can you do? Hey, what? This is funny. Yeah, let's do that. 1 second. I'll check something here real quick. Waves are coming. Yeah, dude. It's tight. This month's tight. It really is. A bunch of people I know as well. Look, make no mistake. That's basically what this is going on with Iran. Trump made a strategic error. He thought this would be simpler. We'd be able to hold out. And the economy's not doing so well. There's no two ways about it. And he has to know that if this doesn't end soon, Republicans are going to get shellacked in the midterms. And it's because of the economy. So, but I do appreciate you all. We'll chalk it up to us and Hall again. 2 nights in a row. A poor performance by me. What can I say? I'm used to it. So, I do appreciate you all. So, thank you to my friend Avarice, to my editor Black Elk. Thank you so much to everyone who watches. Thank you to all of my wonderful mods. Thank you so much to everyone who donated tonight. And to everyone who liked and subscribed. Oh, the Jew thing one time. This probably crushes me in the out.
Jews.
Now I'm good. Now I'm speaking the truth. Oh, I'm cheery. I'm all right. I'm about to go on vacation, so it'll be good. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. I will see you all tomorrow. Take a moment, say a prayer for Charlie Kirk and his family, Henry Novak and his family, Irina Zaratusky and her family, all of the victims of the grooming scandal. Never forget the stakes of what we're up against. Never forget. So, God bless you all. We'll see you all tomorrow. And as always, have a good one.
Only in America is it possible to say, you know what, I don't like the way the country is going, and to do something about it. Take that risk. Take that leap of faith. Stay involved. Trust God and act obediently. Romans 12:2 verse, that God will use all things for good for those who love him. It's bigger than you. I want you to remember that. It is bigger than you. It's bigger than me. You are here to make somebody else's life better, the pursuit of liberty and freedom. You know what gives me strength? The hundreds of thousands of you that say, Charlie, keep going.
1 Corinthians 5 and 15. So that's all pretty amazing evidence, not just intra-biblical evidence, but extra-biblical evidence that Jesus Christ was a real person. He lived a perfect life. He was crucified, died, and rose on the third day, and he is Lord and God of all.